On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about the concept of acceptance. And that has been one of the keys to me finding my happy place and my oasis of peace and joy. I haven't always mastered that particular concept. And I think where I've struggled the most is when it comes to people. And I'll go into that a little bit more later on. But I have worked really hard to realize that it is wasted energy, it is wasted time, wishing and hoping that things are different than what they are. So, my process looks like this. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to assess the situation. And if I can do something, I'm going to do it. Now, that's my personality. I'm a hacker, right? I'm going to try to figure out if there's anything that can be done, a loophole, a something. That's just the way that my mind works. I'm never one to sit back and just do nothing. Sometimes I do the most, to be honest with you, in my effort to try to change my situation or change my circumstance. But I've also realized that there's only so much you can do. There's only so much effort that you can apply, oftentimes, to change your situation. And I've come to the realization that when I hit the brick wall, that the brick wall means this is where your work is. When you've tried to do everything that you can do in regards to a particular situation and nothing's changing it, that is my key, my wake-up call, that it is time to do some particular work in that area. I've learned that that sitting and that wishing and that hoping that things would be different doesn't do anything. All that does is drain your energy, drain your resources, affect your health. What people don't realize is that when you're upset, you are unleashing a myriad of chemicals into your bloodstream. Negative chemicals, cortisol, adrenaline. And all of those components have a negative effect on your health, on your energy levels, on your ability to sleep, on your mineral levels. And it will just lead you down the road to poor health. And so it took me a while to figure that out, but once I got it, I kind of got it. The biggest area that I struggled with, and I still kind of have to do a little work in this particular area every now and again, but I'm getting so much better at it, is when it comes to people. There's a part of me that wants every single person on this planet to be their absolute best. But what I've come to realize is that all the wishing and the hoping and the wanting in the world does nothing if that particular person doesn't want to change their circumstances. And when you really care about people, that's hard to watch. It's almost like a drug addict, for example. You want that person to get clean so much, but that's not what they want. That's not where they are. And I've come to the realization that each individual has their own journey that they have to complete in life. And there's so many other things going on in that particular person's life that is causing them to be in that situation at that moment. It could be karma. It could be some other spiritual factors going on that are causing that person to be in that situation. Some people say that there are even pre-life agreements that are made before we inhabit these physical bodies, and that you come here to kind of work out your particular theme of your life. And sometimes drug addiction is a part of that, and there is a lesson to be learned there. And so as human beings, we want to step in, I always did, with my white cape and save the day, but you can't save people that don't want to be saved. Something else that I've also come to understand is that life is a summation of our choices. It is, in a sense, a certain kind of karma that we're creating day to day, moment to moment, by every choice that we make. And that karma has to be earned out. It's going to be earned out through a repayment or a penalty, which is what we don't want. Or it's going to be paid out via a life lesson, something that we gain from that particular experience. And sometimes that growth will only happen through pain. It will only happen when things get so bad for some people that they will decide today is the day that I make the change and I become different. So I've come to the realization that there's so many things that could be going on in someone's life as I'm sitting on the sideline with tears in my heart wanting them to be different. But I've learned to respect the right for another person to choose and work out their own journey and learn their own lessons and come to their own conclusion about their own life. And as helpless as that sometimes can feel, I remind myself that that person is complete and whole just like you are, and that they have jurisdiction over their own life, and you can't give them what they don't want. And I've learned to be more okay with that. For a time, my strategy was to retreat. I didn't want to be connected with people who were out there and who were doing things that I disagreed with or that I found painful or didn't want to see or didn't want to witness. But I've kind of grown to a place where I see life differently, and I see each human being as a fragment, as an individual piece of creation, just like I am. And what I choose for my life, someone else may not be choosing for their own life for whatever reason. I don't get to say whether it's good or whether it's bad. I don't get to judge that. The only thing that I can do is try to be an example, try to be a beacon of light, a beacon of hope, try to shine forth a little light on their path and hope that they choose it based on what my particular experience has been and what I've learned in my own life. But I can't say that's definitively the road and the path that someone else must take. And I know it seems odd, but that's given me so much peace. I choose to live my life in this way, studying out the mysteries of life and religious texts and what different sages have said about certain things. But that's my journey. I can't try to put that on someone else. I have a person in my circle who I love dearly. And this particular person struggles with the day-to-day management of their own life. And the mistake that I was making was coming to the table and I've got all of these plans as a life coach and this is what you need to do and I'm going to put my hat on and I'm going to come up with this strategy and this is how you attack this particular issue and this is what you do with her own life. How bogus is that? I don't get to decide. Now, if she comes to me and she says, hey, T, I know this is what you do and I need your help, then I am open-hearted, 10 toes down for her. But if she never makes that decision, I can't make that for her. So I don't get the right to sit on the phone call and waste her time and make her feel bad about who she is and make her feel bad about where she's at. I don't have the right to do that. And I'm learning to just be okay. So acceptance has been a huge determining factor in me finding peace and learning to be okay. It's no longer as much of a struggle as it was, because I know that people will find their own way on their own journey, just as I did, or they won't. Some people, unfortunately, will leave this planet in their misery, but most won't. For most people, the pain gets so great that they will have a little bit of an aha moment, and they will decide to be more in the driver's seat of their own life and not be victims of their circumstances. But some won't. And that's the cycle of life. That's each individual's right to choose for themselves. And I don't know what's going on in their psyche. I don't know what's going on in their circumstance. I don't know what's going on between them and their particular religion or God that they serve. I have no idea. So I can't have jurisdiction over that. The only thing that I can do is say, hey, this is what I've learned. I have found an oasis of peace. And if you're open to that, I can share with you how I got there. But other than that, there's nothing I can do. So those are my keys. So that is my particular perspective on acceptance and what that has given me. Why fret about things that you can't change? And why try to give people something that they don't want? Life is what it is. And we are in a migration, essentially. And we are gathering things, we are shedding things, we are coming to new conclusions about ourselves, about life. That's our purpose in our process. And we have to be respectful of others in what they choose and how they get to that same place. It may not look like what it looks like for us. And we have to be okay with that. And to the extent that we can do that, we will find so much more joy, so much more peace. There's nothing more frustrating than looking at something and wanting it to be different and it's not. That robs us of so much peace and so much joy. But to be able to sit back and be a conscious observer, this is what I can affect, this is what I can't affect, and this is life. Things are happening outside of our control, outside of our rule. And the only choice that we have is to surrender to that. Like I said, if you've done your action and there's nothing else to do, surrender to that thing. Look for the lesson in that. What is there for you to learn? And sometimes, as it was for me when it came to other people, the lesson for me was to learn you can push this no further than they want to go. And you're just going to have to be okay with that. You're just going to have to watch it, pray, meditate, be a shoulder to cry on, but you can do no more. And you have to respect the individuality of each human fragment of God. And you have to have reverence for that. And you have to understand that that journey is sacred and it is holy. And you got to let go. So I hope you all found something from that. I wanted to come on and share it. It really has been one of the keys to me finding my happy place, is being able to accept the things that I can't change, whether it's circumstances or whether it's people. So I encourage you all, as you're going about your day, or if you're dealing with something in your life, and sometimes even in conversations where you feel things starting to get a little bit tense, take a deep breath and remind yourself, this is not your journey. This is someone else's journey. And as I said, it is sacred. You have no jurisdiction over that. And learn to be okay. Thanks for listening.